Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Highly Articulated, and I am scrambling to get everything lined up. it seemed like it seemed like a quiet weekend. It seemed like there wasn't too much going on. I don't have a whole lot to talk about this weekend. Um, I do have well, I do have some kind of big news, I guess. Whether people will be sort of excited about it or not, I don't know. I hope they will. So it's been sort of a slow week because we're the weekend after San Diego Comic-Con, but it's been kind of a busy week and sort of a wild week for me personally in terms of the brands that I work with and what I'm doing toy wise. Very quickly, I want to I just want I like I don't even know. It's not even. Oh no. Okay. Thankfully it is. I was gonna say I don't even know if the picture that I used for the thumbnail is on Hasbro Pulse. But I'm gonna go ahead and try to share this screen just to um I this picture. I don't know what it is about this picture. But I'm sure there's people that want this helmet, okay? I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum, and I even noticed when I was sort of getting this loaded up that this is sold out on Hasbro Pulse. So there are people that are into this. I just saw this picture and I was like, what is going on here? I get the reference, the helmet. There's that sort of scene where the helmet is speaking to Osborn and it was a weird one. Helmets are a funny thing, okay? I'll say that right now. I know that there's people that are sort of cosplayers. I know that there's people that like to collect things like this. Um, I know that there are people that will buy this. It was just this photo that sort of I just thought it was hilarious. I hadn't seen this photo until like yesterday when I was trying to get the thumbnail together. And it looked so absurd. And if this was the promotional material, I was just sort of like, oh my goodness. Um, I will say this, okay? I will say this. I'm gonna share this. The helmets are cool. I get it. I get why they have it. Green Goblin to me is a weird one, and I'm gonna get over this helmet thing, and then we'll sort of get into like more relevant stuff in a minute. But um, the helmets are odd. The Green Goblin one seemed weird. That picture made it more weird. I love the Star Wars ones. Okay, I'll say that right now. I have the Poe Dameron fighter pilot helmet. I think the Black Series Stranger one is really, really cool. That's a really good looking helmet. The Stormtrooper ones are often, the cheapest way to get something like this if you're into this sort of thing. So I like that they're doing it. Do they need to do so many Stormtroopers? Maybe not. Do they do more than they probably should? I suspect they do. I will point this out as well because during my research for talking about that Green Goblin helmet, the Spider-Man one. Now this doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess it does. The nanotech spider helmet, I guess, would be like metal, so it would be rigid. But Spider-Man's always had a fabric mask. Like, it seems weird that it's being sold as a helmet. That being said, it did go to clearance. It's sold out at clearance, at least on Hasbro Pulse. Um, so what do I know? The Magneto helmet is really, really cool. That Scout Trooper helmet, I'll be totally honest, that's my favorite trooper helmet, and I was tempted a little bit. A Power Rangers one, a Mandalorian one, like a lot of these do make a lot of sense. The Spider-Man one's sold out, the Green Goblin sold out, but the Iron Man one's not. I just it this is it, it's just a weird. I don't know. It's like a weird thing to me. It's a weird thing to want these sort of like prop replica helmets that aren't quite that make sounds and they kind of speak to you or whatever. Oh wait, I you know what I just realized is the helmet speaks to Osborn in the movie. I guess if the helmet speaks to you in real life, that's actually a really good selling feature, right? That makes sense. It makes more sense to me now than it did 2 minutes ago. Anyways, enough about Green Goblin helmets. How are you guys? How's everybody doing today? Good to have you guys. Let's see who is in the chat. Sam Rock is here. Stars hanging out. Yerp. Quick is here. Payne's toy samples. Ray Paz. Maybe you can hear the ocean. I like this one though. I thought he was shaking it to listen for rattling. That's yeah. I mean, they're not. As I said, I have that Poe Dameron helmet. They're cool for what they are, but they're not that impressive at the end of the day. Um, without the rest of the armor, the helmet alone kind of pointless. If you're gonna put it on your shelf, I mean, I get it. It's cool. I mean, it's yeah, I'm right there with you, Ray. Like, it's cool. I'm glad for whoever wanted it. And enough people wanted it that it sold out on Pulse, like I said. So, what do I know? It was it was really that picture that I was just sort of like, what is going on here? Collecting Brothers, the pumpkin bomb is sick. I will agree. I will agree with you on that. I think that pumpkin bomb is pretty cool. I like props like that. I like prop replicas at sort of an affordable collector level like that. Um, yeah. I mean, I get why they exist. I get why they exist. 100%. It's just that picture, that picture, man. It's just like I don't know. I think part of it is like there's like I don't know. This is a little bit darker, a little bit heavier, maybe, but like there's sort of there's a connection to like mental health problems when he's listening to the helmet, and I was just sort of like, it seems like an odd way to promote this product. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Good to have everybody. Um, if I'm not sort of chasing you away at this point. Um, Samrock says, I have that Spider-Man helmet. It's not a good helmet, in my opinion. It seems like a weird take or like a weird choice for me, but I'm 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 okay with that existing. I will say this: on my shelf, I have a Spider-Man fabric mask right next to a Snake Eyes sort of kid's toy mask. So I get it. I mean, I get why these things exist. Um, Collecting Brothers. Josh and I were taken aback by the cosplay model. Yeah, a little bit. Starset saw a metal replica of Deckard's weapon from Blade Runner a while back, way out of my price range, sadly. I think, yeah, that's a tough one. I know that and a lot of people like build their own Han Solo blasters, right? There's like a model kit that you could buy at one point. People buy that, and then sort of you can source the parts and sort of 3D print a lot of stuff. Metal replica is a little bit different. I would love metal. Oh man, that Blade Runner pistol. I I don't know. Where would I put it? I don't want it, but I'm just saying I would I would love to have it. I agree, but yeah, they're pricey, and that's the thing. That's the thing that I'm suggesting with these ones that the Green Goblin one, the Spider-Man one, the ones that I think are kind of weird, but whatever. There's a market for them. The price point is right. These are the most affordable versions of these in a lot of cases because if you're going to go third party, if you're going to go somebody who's sort of like custom making them, they're not going to be $100. It just that isn't. That isn't the way it works. So I do like that they're making these. That one just seemed odd and funny and sort of weird to me. Um, but really, what it made me think about is my sort of motto that I can't collect all the things, and this was a great representation of a thing that exists that I will sort of pay attention to, and that it's cool that they're out there, but I don't necessarily need them. I can certainly live without them. And it's just really, really cool that we live in sort of an era where like everything, y- you know, everybody has different tastes and everybody is effectively being catered to. You know what I mean? Like there's so much stuff out there that is really, really cool that maybe isn't something that I collect. But somebody might have been waiting for forever for something like a Green Goblin helmet to come out. There might be somebody whose favorite thing in the world is the Green Goblin, and specifically, the one that they like is sort of that version, um that depiction, that design, aesthetic, and so on and so forth. And so to get this at that price point for somebody is like a dream, right? And so that's the big thing. Um, I can't collect all the things. I would love to, but that's not how it works. Space and money are issues. I have kids. I have a finite amount of space. Most of it is right behind me. I have other walls, but that's a big sort of chunk of what my collection is. And unless I can figure out a way, like some sort of science fiction way to sort of create a TARDIS in this office where it'll be bigger on the inside. um, I can't have everything. So, Red 5 is also here. Good to have you, Red 5. Star says, for the price of some of these replica weapons, I could buy a real gun. Don't buy a real gun. You don't need a real gun, Star. You don't want a real gun. Larry Reed is here as well. Good to have you, buddy. Sam says, some of the Hasbro helmets, in my opinion, have become a little pricey for what they are. I mean, I don't know. I might disagree a little bit because I think they're still cheaper than what you'll get as like third party aftermarket stuff. And so like was sort of suggesting, like it's cool that they're getting these to collectors that would potentially want them, right? Um yeah, exactly. It's bigger on the inside. I wish. Oh man, I wish a TARDIS existed. Whatever it costs, I would probably buy it because it would solve so many of my problems. Um Star says, I'm partial to wanting the props used on camera. I couldn't say no to that, like the barricade shell from 2007 Transformers film. Um, wait, you own that? You own a car? You own a prop car? Curious. You don't have to answer. I don't. It's That's what it seems from reading that comment. So, um, TARDIS would solve that space problem. Yeah, it would, but I mean, if I mean, John, I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from when I say this. It would also create more problems. The TARDIS is notoriously unreliable. I'd come into my TARDIS, and when I was done, I'd leave, and I'd be somewhere I didn't want to be or intend to be. Ray Pass says next offering is sand, so you can be so you can be Sandman. Oh my goodness. That's it's gonna be a HasLab, right? The stretch goals will be more sand. You'll just get more sand as the years along. Star says, I wish it was at auction. Okay, good. Where would you put it? Where would you put even the shell of a car? You could build one of those car beds, I guess, but it would be different than the kids' ones. You just build your bed and it could be like the canopy to your bed, maybe. I don't know. Albert says, "Are we talking space danger? My favorite and often ignored topic." Man, I talk about space danger all the time. Space danger is real. in two ways. The danger in space is real, but also the danger of me running out of space in my office is real. I've said this before. I do not like having toys in bins. I'm currently in a position where I'm having to make some very serious decisions about what stays on a shelf and what goes in a bin, and whether I want to put it in a bin or whether I should just sell it, because I know for a fact once certain things go in bins, they will never come out. So I don't know. Anyways, we're not specifically talking about that. I was just sort of talking about things that exist that I don't necessarily collect, and I'm glad that they're out there, and I'm glad that collectors get them. But I'm happy that I don't need them. Um, the TARDIS might solve space issues, but yes, there might be some time issues. Yeah, yes, and location issues. That's the other thing. The TARDIS is notorious for just phasing out and reappearing somewhere else. But this is not a Doctor Who show. I'm not that's I'll leave that to the people that spend way more time thinking about the sort of really confusing aspects of Doctor Who. I love Doctor Who. But yeah, Ray says I should start selling off stuff too. It's a hard one, man, because like this is not what I intended to talk about, but I'm happy to talk about it because, like I said, it's kind of a light news week. It's kind of a light news day. So we'll if we get to 40 minutes and I haven't gotten to the next thing I want to talk about, then we'll we'll have to like tie this back up. But um, yeah, I mean, I everything that I buy, I want. Like I don't, I am. I know there's a lot of collectors that sort of buy things, and as their collections grow, they kind of sell to buy more, and they're happy to kind of buy and sell. But I'm quite I don't buy everything, and I really only buy what I really love, and I open everything and I play with everything. Um and so it's hard for me to sell stuff. I'll be totally honest. It's hard for me to sort of mentally decide that emotionally I no longer need a certain item in my collection. And I know that sounds weird and it sounds juvenile. And for anybody that doesn't collect, it's really hard for them to understand. But I suspect that probably most of you guys watching, or gals, I like all this stuff. It's it, I don't know. I have a connection to all these things. I can't just they're not just objects to me, they're not just there is like there's a value to them that is outside of the monetary value. I've said this before and I'll say it again too. Like when I sell things, I'm typically not selling them to recuperate money. I'm not trying to make money, right? I'm just trying to make more space. Anyway, Albert, totally agree. I refuse to keep my toys in bins, so then it's a constant struggle of what goes and what stays, and there's the constant flow of new and exciting releases. Yeah, and I've said this before too. Like I don't get that. And I'm not suggesting that you do, Albert, but like that sort of thing where like collectors will sort of like get the new thing, and as soon as it's like out of the box, they're like, "Hey, what's the new thing? What's the next thing? Like, what's the next package that's on its way?" I'm like on my desk right now, and I mean for pretty obvious reasons if you've been paying attention. On my desk right now is Super 7 Lino. I've had this figure for like a couple years. But my kids and I have been watching Thundercats. My kids have been wanting to play with Thundercats. So the Super 7 figures came off the shelf. They're getting played with. And it's an older figure. It's not a perfect figure. I get it. It's a Super 7 Ultimates, blah, blah, blah. The articulation, blah, 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 whatever. But, if that was in a bin, I'd be sad. I'd have to dig it out, whatever. It's a tough one. Ray Paz, what do you think of the MapX Phoenix compared to the Hasbro one? I love the MapX one. I think the MapX one looks fantastic. I've purchased a couple MapX figures. I don't currently own any MapX figures. My kind of struggle with Mafex and any figure that's sort of in that price range because they're not cheap. They're more expensive, right? They're more expensive than a Marvel Legends. Is that I, if I'm letting a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, and an 8-year-old play with my Phoenix figure, two things. I'm worried if it's a really expensive figure that it's going to break or whatever, and then replacement is expensive. But also for them, so I had this is a great example. Like I said, my 2-year-old was playing with Lino yesterday morning. We were having Saturday morning Thundercats. He and I sitting on the couch playing with Thundercats action figures. I had posed this up in a way that he didn't like. He wanted it posed like this. I had it nicely posed up, in sort of an action pose, and he sort of grabbed it and he said, "Can you like fix this?" And what he meant was make it look like this because this looks more like the LJN vintage figure, right? So what I'm kind of realizing and what I'm kind of like appreciating because I'm sharing a lot of this stuff, not all, some things are too expensive like Mafex figures. What I'm learning and appreciating about how kids play with toys is that they don't need 87 points of articulation in their action figure. They don't need to hit it every single pose. They're imagining, what we used to imagine. They're imagining these things hitting these poses. So when articulation is something that people get really hung up on, that's fine. I mean, collectors, collect how you like and buy what you love and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like I didn't care when I was a kid if they could hit the poses. I've somehow like we forget that, we lose track of that a little bit. So I'm just really really excited about toys, and playing with toys. And so Mafex for me is just a little too expensive because I've said this before and I'll say it again and then I'll move on. I don't feel like I'm a collector. I just feel like I'm a guy that has a lot of toys and I just really love toys. So um, if there was only one version of Phoenix and it was Mafex, I'd be all over it. But I think that Hasbro Phoenix, the new one especially, looks phenomenal. I can't wait until we see that Phoenix, the Phoenix energy. What's it called? The Phoenix Force, Phoenix Force, Phoenix Energy, the Phoenix, with some more Excalibur figures. That's what I'm really hoping for. But um, Red Five says, "I wish Hasbro finished the yellow and bracket." I don't think it's supposed to say bracket. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers helmets. Oh, okay. Like so, the other colors. Yeah, I mean that's again, right? Like there's definitely people that would want sort of all those Power Rangers helmets. Um, Star says, as soon as I sell something, either more will be released consisting of figs I've always wanted, or I'll see something and start missing those items. It's a no-win situation. Ah, my opinion is a little bit different. You can't play with everything all the time, so it's sort of like I play with things, and if there's something that doesn't really come off the shelf very often, I'm okay with not. I know it exists, and if I ever want it again, I know that I can just buy it. So I don't. I'm usually pretty good that way. Star, if I have some, I'll need to get all. I've kind of worked that out. I've kind of figured that out about you. I Ray Pass says I want to replace my Hasbro figures with Mafex. That's my plan. Go for it, dude. I mean, those Mafex figures are phenomenal. And if you're kind of going for like one version of every figure or every character, you know what I mean? Mafex is they're superior to Marvel Legends, no doubt, no doubt. I'm still playing with toys, so I'm not quite there. I have sort of considered that though. Larry Reed says I've been selling my extra Joes on eBay. I need to sell my vintage Joes. I've been saying it over and over and over again. There's a whole pile of bins right next to me that's vintage Joes. If somebody collects vintage Joes and they want a whole lot of vintage Joes, let me know because it's just I just don't have the time to sell them. Is what it's come down to. Also waiting for my next show as a dealer. Yeah, again, I don't have time as a dealer. I'm doing other toy brand stuff. Like I said, um, Albert says, I would humbly add that most of us collectors have some element of a hoarding tendency. As you said, we put particular value on the things we collect above monetary. Yes. And there's a whole psychological aspect to that that I'm not even going to get into, but absolutely. And John says, price makes it hard to compare those Phoenix. I think it does on some level, but on another level, like I said, like I've sort of explained, and now I'm behind in the comments. So like I think I kind of explained that already. Like, yeah, I mean, one is objectively a better figure, but it's also a lot more expensive. Um, Cyberpunk Edge Runners. I still didn't watch Edge Runners. I still haven't had a chance to, but I promise I'll watch it and then I'll let you know. Durability. That I need durability in my figures. If the figure's not durable, I am not really in a position where I want it in my office yet. My kids will get older and things will change, and I might be there in a few years, right? Um, and Ray Paz says it's not too much of a difference. One is 60 and the other is about the same if you buy it from an overseas site. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's another thing too. It's like if you kind of time it right, sometimes you can get deals on some of this stuff. So um, let's see. Um, Red 5. I meant Black Ranger helmet. Yeah, fair enough. I kind of assumed as much. Anyways, um, Red 5 said, my DC comic wall of action figures is getting so full. I'm trying to avoid mixing my other collections, so I started selling some stuff. Yeah, that's, you can't have everything. Or most of us can't. I'm sure some people can, but anyway. Albert says, has anyone noticed that the market for used action figures seems to be falling through the floor? I put up a bunch of various Star Wars figures from different makers and they just sit on there. I think there's an interesting thing happening. And I'll sort of use this point and sort of move on to sort of something else. Like I said, I really only have two other things to talk about, and they're um yeah, probably be a short video today. The price for vintage action figures, I think it's less that the price for vintage action figures is really dramatic. Well, I guess it's supply and demand and demand. So the demand thing is what's going on right now. I think during the last few years there was a lot of people that had time and a little bit of extra money and so on and so forth that were buying action figures, and so sellers were sort of seeing that it was a seller's market and the prices went up. In some cases, like way too much. And I think they're sort of the market's correcting itself a little bit. So I don't think that the price for vintage figures is really terrible. It's just there's kind of more people that were collecting and now those people are selling as well as the people that are sort of have regularly been selling. So I think we saw really high demand, 2 or 3 years ago, and now we're seeing very low demand but a big supply because a lot of people that were sort of collecting during lockdown or whatever um are kind of deciding that they're not collectors, they were just collecting for something to do, if that makes sense. So I think the market's kind of correcting itself. I think that's sort of what we're seeing. Ray says probably because people want to get them cheap. I don't think people should sell if they don't really want to get rid of the figures. I've been at a couple cons where I sort of question how badly people want to actually get rid of the figure. Like, how much do you really want to sell this? Because the prices were a little higher than they should have been. Um, um, Albert said I tried to collect almost exclusively figures in Mafex, but I couldn't. I wouldn't classify them as durable. Yes, Mafex is. The most import figures are the same. Most import figures are a little. They're not dainty. They're not fragile. They're not. Like that's not the case. It's more that It's more that all that articulation has engineering that's involved in it. And so when people kind of knock Marvel Legends for being flexible or gummy or whatever, I get it because they're way more durable. So you can't really have it both ways. So um let's see. Oh, Star, you got to open some toys. You got to open just a couple. Just get a couple out of the box. Get them on your desk, um, and play with them. Um, just possessing it is good enough for my psychosis. Well, I would. So that's where I'm at, sort of with things that I don't collect. Right? It's knowing that they exist is enough for me to not buy everything. So, um, Ray passes. I'm dumping my Marvel figures once I find that right version I want. I'm pretty sure I'll be getting rid of all my uh Daredevil for that Mafex Daredevil that's on the way. I assume. I don't know about a Mafex Daredevil because, like I said, I don't really pay attention to Mafex. I'm not really buying them. All right. As I said, it's been a pretty slow week for toys, at least the ones that I collect. We're sort of seeing the release of some of the San Diego Comic-Con stuff. We're starting to see, pre-orders go up for all that stuff. We're also seeing pre-orders go up for certain Kickstarter stuff. So we are starting to see. Let me make this screen look better. Uh, that looks better. So of course, what I mean to say is that the first wave of Series 2 of Animal Warriors of the Kingdom has gone up for pre-order. For retail pre-order, these prices are wrong. So get your order in now. The standard figure should be $1 more than that, believe it or not. I Man. I let Jason know that a lot of these are $1 less than they're supposed to be. The weapon set's also a little bit less. So if you didn't back the Kickstarter and you want to get in on this, I would definitely recommend getting them now because the pricing is pretty good. Um, and for anybody that sort of wasn't part of the Kickstarter, and for anybody that was part of the Kickstarter too, I guess this is somewhat news. The water buffalo is also going to be in wave one. So there's room in the time frame for him to get made when we make the rest of the brawlers, and so he's in there to be shipped with the first delivery. I'm very, very excited about these. There's a bunch of figures in here that I can't wait to get. And the weapon sets are really, really fun. I'm very excited to get that brawler weapon set. I'm very excited to get big weapons into big hands. Um, but yeah, um, let's see. Jer Bear Man Cave. I really want Ramen Tank, but I don't have room. It is really big. It's got a big footprint. I'm just trying to like imagine what it was like a foot wide. It's like 2 feet long. It's got a big footprint. It looks really, really cool. I have I kind of already decided personally that for me, if I'm gonna buy classified or vehicles to go with my classified figures, I'm gonna stick to the Hasbro ones. There's some cool 3D printed stuff, there's some cool third party stuff, but, my concern or my issue or, like, I can't have everything, right? So I'm kind of thinking, like, okay, I know if I buy the ramen tank that Hasbro is gonna release a Mauler, and then I'm gonna be like, "Oh, I can't have 2. What am I gonna do? Like, do I sell the run?" So I'll just wait. I'll stick I'll to the Hasbro stuff. I'll stick to the official, GI Joe branded stuff and be okay with that. I already have too many vehicles anyway. So it's I don't need more. I probably don't have room for more. Anyways, so there's your selection for series or wave 1 of series 2. Legacy wave 6 probably. If you're going by sort of the legacy wave. So we got 4 brawlers and 3 reptiles plus 2 weapon sets. Man, these are gonna be cool figures. Collecting Brothers. There's my boy Grimes. Absolutely. I love Grimes. I love that water buffalo. I love King Hannibal. I've said this before. The lizards were hugely popular. By the numbers, the lizard buck was probably the most popular buck. And I'm gonna buy a bunch, to army build and stuff like that. But it's like the least exciting one for me. Anyway, um, a star says that's what's cool about lines like AWOC. There are no repeated or updated versions, so all figures are unique and mandatory. There's a pale version too. There's an Atreyu version too. But I get the sentiment. I know what you're saying. Like it's not. It wasn't just a repaint, and it's not like you know. It makes sense, right? Like within the lore, within canon, that version of pale makes sense. Um, Red 5 says, "Can't wait to add more AWOC. We need ancient lizards." One day, I'm sure we'll have those. The issue right now is that we need to get these out, and so we're not trying to get ahead of ourselves. That's always the concern, right? Is that you can get mission drift. You can start saying, "Oh, we're gonna make this. We're gonna make this. We're gonna make this," and then all of a sudden, there's all this stuff that hasn't been made, and people are sort of like, "Well, when will I get the release of these things?" The goal right now, it's kind of a boring time to be an AWOC fan right now in a weird way. Like, I mean, like right now, the Kickstarter's done, the backer kit's done. That was all really exciting, and now there's sort of a hurry up and wait period. And what I mean by boring is like we're not going to be announcing, new stuff. We're not there's no big things going on. But what we are doing in the back end is sort of improving the business side of things and trying to get like more efficiency and all that kind of stuff. We're trying to get the all the retailers on board and try to get all the information of the retailers so that people that didn't back the Kickstarter didn't have access to the backer kit will be able to get these figures, and so on and so forth. We're working through the sculpts. uh I can't show you the pictures, but he didn't say that I couldn't share that Mamba is being sculpted right now. So I've seen preliminary work in progress shots for Mamba, and I'm really, really excited. I hope we can share with the sort of more updates sort of as we get closer. But I'm really, really excited about that. Um, yeah, Hannibal and Kali Prime, I think would be a cool matchup. Kali Prime and Thane, I think, is going to be a cool matchup because then you're also going to have like two slightly different figures or sizes of figures, which would be really, really cool. I just love having different scales of figures. I think it's really weird when you have all your figures that are kind of the same size. So I'm really, really excited that we're getting a couple different body types in the Kickstarter. And I know that this is still ways out, right? But getting the Brawler Buck, which is smaller than Thane, but bigger than Pale, getting the Speedster, which is a little slimmer, getting that female body type in there. I'm just very, very excited about all that stuff. So, um, yeah, those figures look like absolute destroyers. Yeah. And those alternate heads too are just, oof, I think they're going to put them over the top. Ray passes, get that issue 5 out early. I can't. I mean, it's not my call. It's not my say. And I wish that we had been able to get issue 5 out, as an independent release before it got picked up by Diamond. And then sort of issue 5 would almost be like a reprint, but we didn't. So I apologize, and it sucks, but as I said, it's worth it. Issue 5 is great, and then we're gonna have more stuff going forward from there. Um, Another thing that I want to point out here, and I pointed this out a while ago, but I want to point it out again. Now that there's no Kickstarter, now there's no backer kit, get yourself some AWOC t-shirts. Get yourself an AWOC hoodie. Um, they're very nice shirts. I've got a few of them. I got the hoodie. The hoodie's a little bit. It's like a thinner hoodie, so it's sort of like a spring, summer, early fall type hoodie. Um, I'm gonna start petitioning for a heavier weight one. Once once the temperatures start dropping a little bit. But people were asking for t-shirts. They're there for the taking. And as I said, they're pretty nice. So if you want to grab those, by all means do. Um, yeah, they're great. Let me see here. Okay. Last piece of business. Um, oh, Star says wouldn't mind getting Ewok shirts that are colored like the hides of the different animals. That's not a bad idea, actually. I mean, some of the colors are there already, but anyways, let's see. Ray says I may get that void tee. Um, Thanos said just looked at the Brutal Realm Kickstarter. It's slow going over there. Yeah, I mean, I haven't. I kind of look at it every day. I kind of like. I mean, I hope for the best for those guys. Like I genuinely do. That figure, they had the they had the prototype figure, the current one, the newest one. And I don't know if it was like a 3D printed version or sort of like where like what um stage it was at or from, but they had one at Joe Fest and it posed amazingly well. Um I initially like that line didn't do that much for me. But after having that figure in hand, I actually thought it was a really really cool good figure. And I backed that Kickstarter and I genuinely sort of hope that they can get there. It's been slow going through this sort of like middle time, but it's always slow going through the middle time. This is sort of like the slog time. We had the same thing with Animal Wars of the Kingdom. Like the first 3 days, give or take, are usually sort of the big spike, and then you see this sort of slow time through the center, and then you get a nice spike at the end. So I'm really hoping that they can sort of see a nice big spike and sort of get them across the finish line there, because they're great figures. Worst case scenario, right? I think maybe they regroup and retool and sort of launch it again, maybe a little bit differently or whatever. But um, Ray Paz says, "What was your favorite reveals and from which company? Do you mean from San Diego Comic Con?" Um, I don't know what my favorite ones were. There was so much good stuff from San Diego. Um, Red 5, when is Spiro Toys coming to Fan Expo Toronto? Uh, y- I don't know enough about Fan Expo Toronto to know whether or not Spiro should go to Fan Expo Toronto. It's a big investment just to get there, so it's sort of like, the investment like, basically, you have to look at the economics of it. Would we make money by going? And if so, then, maybe sooner rather than later. But a lot of conventions that aren't, like, toy centric, I hate to say it, but they don't make good business sense. So, maybe one day. I mean, if I was in if I was in Ontario, if I was in the Toronto area, it would be different. But I'm on the West Coast and I'm the only one in Canada for Spiro. So it's not it would be a very costly con for us to do. So that's a bit hard. Um let's see. Thanos says, I think it may have the same issue as the street humans, not a lot offered to get the initial numbers up. I I don't know. I mean, every project is okay. I will never sort of speak ill of anybody that's like trying to do something like this. Trying to do a Kickstarter, trying to start a toy company. Um, because I've been involved in a couple and I will be involved in more. Um, I will say that everybody tries their best and everybody thinks Nobody starts a Kickstarter, and I've said this too about like failed Kickstarters, and not just failed Kickstarters, but like Kickstarters that have funded but like never delivered. I don't think those people are trying to scam anybody, and I like this is not a scam at all. These guys are not trying to scam anybody at all. But even the ones that sort of people think are scams because they hit their funding goal but then never delivered. Things happen. Like this is really hard. Making toys is really hard. It's very complicated. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of luck involved. Some of the luck can be overcome by hard work and by networking and by like a whole bunch of little things that can sort of add up over time. But making toys is really hard, and you know some of the best projects still won't make it, for whatever reason. I don't know, but it's just it's tough. It's tough. There's only so much money, right? And there's only so much space, and so people are getting pickier. It's getting harder and harder to sort of make it over the line. And by the line, I mean like the line of like production and getting things in people's hands. Um, Ray Paz says maybe it's because the HasLab eating into the backer pledges. I mean, it may be that, but at the same time, it's sort of like, do I, and maybe this is a question for you guys too. Like, do you think that the people that are buying the Rattler would be the same people that are maybe buying the Brutal Realm stuff? I don't know that it necessarily would be. So I think I think there's a market of people that will buy both. I think there's a market of people that will buy neither. I think there's a market of people that will buy one or the other. That's so obvious now that I say it, because that's everybody that exists. But what I mean to say is like, I think I don't think anybody's is sort of sitting there with the Rattler on one hand and Brutal Realm on the other hand, and trying to. I'm doing the emoji this right there. I just realized that I'm doing that emoji. But I'm not. I'm balancing things. I don't think somebody's going, okay, I can have one or the other. You know what I mean? Like I don't think there's anybody that is like having to pick one or the other right now. I don't think that those things cross over for that collector. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't. I just make this stuff up. I don't know any of this. This is just experience and circumstantial evidence and so on and so forth. Um, let's see. Yes, star. Yes, I get it. I'll watch Edge Runners. I promise. Um, um, Solo Center said eCollectibles is going to be at Fan Expo. It's geared more to comics, not toys, but obviously still related. Might be a bit early for Spiro right now. Maybe I'll talk to Mike. Maybe after Mike does it, I'll reach out and sort of ask him if it's worthwhile. Because if Mike's doing it, then maybe we can work something out. Maybe we can sort of partner up with Mike and do another table and sort of go that route. But that's the thing, is like a lot of the cons that are comic specific, or like the Fan Expo stuff, tends to have like a little bit of everything. But we need people to buy toys for it to be worthwhile for us to go, if that makes sense. So I don't know. Maybe wait till at least issue 5 comes out. Well, I mean, we're not doing it this year. By next year, we should have like up to issue 10 theoretically. Actually further out than that, but we'll see. Um um Play devil's advocate against himself. I do that a lot. I do that an awful lot. Um Red 5 says, hopefully one day you'll come by. I want to get my pail signed by you and Jason. I will say this. I will say this much about Canadian conventions for Spiro Toys. We are definitely talking about it. The conversation is like What I sort of suggest is you can't go to the same convention year after year after year in the same location and expect to sort of see the same result. So at some point, you kind of have to go, okay, well, we went to all these cons 2 or 3 times, and we went to 20 cons a year. Maybe we go to 10 cons a year, and we just go a little further out and sort of. So Canada is in the conversation. I will say this: there's no plans right now to do any Canadian conventions, but because I'm in BC, I'm looking at the Vancouver Toy Show. I'm looking at the Victoria Toy Show. Fan Expo is in the conversation. I just don't have enough experience with Fan Expo, and I don't know enough about Fan Expo to know whether or not it is a commercially viable opportunity for us. So, um, let's see. Larry Reed says Fan Expo is our San Diego Comic Con. It is, but we also like Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. Spirit Toys doesn't do San Diego Comic Con because San Diego Comic Con is it's not exactly like a toy buying destination, if that makes sense. For us toy buyers, when we go, we buy the exclusives and it's about the toys, but it's also about Hall H, and it's about Marvel and Star Wars and DC, and like just go and look at everybody's coverage of San Diego Comic-Con, and you'll see a lot less of the smaller guys. You'll see a lot more of the big guys. So when you're competing with the big guys, it's not easy. So that's just the reality. Um, no shade, but I think we're good on Ninja Turtles for the moment. Ah, yeah, I mean, Ninja Turtles is a yeah. I love Ninja Turtles, but I agree. There's just too much Ninja Turtle stuff. Um, eh, um, well, I think you guys are agreeing with each other. I just don't quite realize it. How many Optimus Primes and Bumblebees can I see and still be excited about them? But I mean that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the minority, right? I think the big thing is that people like Optimus Prime sells, Bumblebee sells, Snake Eyes sells. Like it's I don't know. Ray Paz says, "You mean Spiro doesn't do it yet?" Yeah, kind of, kind of. Like that's the goal, right? The comic books, the cartoon, get a movie deal, get more waves of figures, get it as like a household name so that people are watching it on Netflix and all that kind of stuff. One day, one day. Okay, my last piece of news, and like I don't know. I'm equal parts excited about this and anxious about this. Some of you may have seen this stuff before. Um, well, I'll just get right into it and we'll talk about it. Arlen Pelche, who is a great guy, a Canadian guy. You're not far off, Ray. Um, Bushido is coming. We'll be talking about Bushido soon. I was talking to Dan about Bushido, so there's going to be more Bushido Bushido news before too long. But first, Arlen Pelche has been working on this. You've probably seen some of the prototype stuff. You probably have seen some of the printed paint masters. But he's been working on this for a while. This is sort of his project in the same way that Dan is doing the Bushido line. Arlen has been working on Space Zombies from Mars. And I had the pleasure of meeting Arlen at Joe Fest. We learned that we had flown from Calgary to Atlanta on the same flight, but didn't know each other and didn't recognize each other. Um, which I know isn't true because I know he recognized me because he'd seen my videos and saw that I was wearing an Animal Warriors of the Kingdom T-shirt and just didn't decided not to come up and say anything to me. Um, but we met at Joe Fest. hung out a little bit, talked about toys, talked about how I was involved with Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. Um, then got to hang out in an airport while we waited for this the flight back to Canada together. Flew back to Canada, had a couple meals together, hung out, chatted. Um, a couple people already know this, but this is sort of the first time that I'm sort of putting this out there on a video or sort of talking about this publicly. I will be partnering with Arlen to do this line. So this is Space Zombies from Mars. It will be a separate brand. This will not be Spiro Toys. We're still deciding on the company name. We're open to suggestions because so far all the ones that we come up with don't sound as good as we think they do once we say them out loud. Um, but yeah, we're gonna be doing astronauts and zombies. This is the zombie. This is sort of a sample. I I'm looking at I'm admittedly like looking at more parts that I'm not even showing you guys just yet. You'll have to wait. But yeah, so there's a whole story for this. At least there's going to be sort of a launch comic, whether it's going to be a sort of continued storyline or not sort of remains to be seen. It depends, how the story lands and sort of where it goes. Arlen's not a comic book writer. I'm not a comic book writer, so we'll sort of feel that out as we go. But for now, it's primarily going to be the toys. And as I said, it's sort of like a 60s 70s inspired astronaut thing where astronauts there's something going on and then there's zombies and like there's lore here. um but I don't want to get too deep into it. I'm excited about it. um and I've been very very busy behind the scenes working on some of the numbers, working out sort of how the Kickstarter should look, what we'll have for stretch goals, what our goals will be, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're doing astronauts in space. We're doing zombies. I'm very much open to input. If people want to message me either in the comments or reach out on Facebook or Instagram. um if there's sort of an aspect of this that appeals to you, but there's sort of something else like, hey, you guys should include this. We still have sort of room to play with it. I was talking about Arlen, just this morning about some of the some sort of design things that I think we should lean more into, and things like that. But yeah, it's gonna be a blast, and I'm very very excited. I will also say that tentatively we are looking at launching this Kickstarter in the fall. Like Arlen's got so much stuff sculpted. He's the main sculptor, and if you guys don't know Arlen, Arlen is a very very accomplished sculptor. He's been doing work for Hasbro. He's done a bunch of the Animal Wars of the Kingdom stuff. That's how I met him. That's how I know him. He's doing a lot of the Fresh Monkey Fiction stuff and the stuff that you're seeing coming out from Big Bad Toy Store. He did all those Santa figures in the Naughty or Nice line. So, um, yeah, Arlen brings a pedigree with him that there's not many guys that sort of would have the sort of the resume that he has. So, um, let me see what's going on in the comments. So, listener, what is this? This is Space Zombies from Mars. Hope you like it. You're gonna be seeing a lot of it soon. Um, um, oh, that's not related to this, but that's yeah. I mean, there's a balance, right, with older established IPs where you have to sort of pepper in the new stuff. Um, you know, I agree. You can't just have Optimus all the time. Ray Pass says looks cool as fudge. Hopefully, hopefully more people agree. Um, Star says, "Could this be Spark?" This is not Spark, but Arlen sculpted Spark. What I will say is, if everything goes according to plan, there will be a lot of sort of small lines that are all sort of sculpted by Arlen or sort of similar people. Theoretically, they could all get made in the same factory, and if they are, then there's a lot of potential for like cross compatibility, which I'm very very excited about. Um, I'm very very excited about this, and I'm very very excited about sort of the future of what Arlen kind of wants to do and what we could do. So yeah. Um, Star says, "Okay, these are piquing my interest." Red Five says, "Hold on, you're doing your own line." Either way, congratulations. Yeah, I know that like last week I said no way. Um, I don't consider this my line. It's so I'm sort of coming in as the guy that does what I've been doing for Animal Warriors of the Kingdom and for Spiro Toys. I am not the creative and you would not want me to be. I wouldn't come up with any of this stuff. So um Star says any word on the Spark line that I think is from the same studio. So Spark was sculpted by Arlen, but it's not Arlen's line, if that makes sense. So I don't have I mean their news is not my news to share. And Star says the look of his figures rock. Absolutely, they are really, really well done. Um, let's see. Star says really enjoyed the way he merged the astronaut look with the camo of military soldiers. I will say this without sort of going into too much detail. I'm only showing you this one, but there's other astronauts. There's different colors. There's different stuff going on. We've got some fun stuff planned. It's a cool line. There's some concepts that this line is going to have that I don't think anybody else is kind of doing, and so I'm really really excited. We're working on a Kickstarter exclusive that I'm really excited about. It's gonna be a lot of fun. um let's take a look at this zombie again. um like how cool is this sculpting? Like, how good does this look? Uh, I will say that this skull will kind of like have more meaning later on once things get rolling. Um, but yeah, I'm very very excited about this. Um, should I share this? Maybe I'll share this too, just to give you just one more little snippet. And then I'm gonna pull it down, so it's only gonna be there for a brief moment. Um, there it is. That's all you get. You just get a little sneak peek of the of that. As I said, I'm very very excited about that line. I'm very very excited about the potential. Arlen and I have a good we have a really good balance, and sort of what he's good at and what I'm good at. I think are going to come together really really well. And so there's sort of I just hope that everybody else likes it as much as we like it. So um Star says, "I hope he's not planning on firing those weapons in space. May not turn out well for him." There's more weapons. There's more stuff coming. There's more stuff going on. Ray says, "Show us a bad guy too." There's a bad guy. Don't worry. There's a bad guy. Um, Solo says that zombie head is pure fire. That's not my favorite zombie head. I can't wait. I can't wait to share more and to show you guys more. Um, because there's more stuff. It's gonna be so much fun. I what I'm really excited about is like I said, that there's potential to be a lot of cross compatibility. So there's going to be a lot of lines that people are sort of already buying that these are going to fit in with like perfectly. So, if you're into a particular line and you want to get a couple astronaut figures, it's going to fit. If you want to add some zombies, it might fit that you're able to like swap parts from these figures and just create zombies in other lines. I don't know. We'll see. Um, Solo says, "I saw an exploding head." You might have. You might have. And that's just one little sort of tidbit like that. That's potentially just the pack out for one figure. I may have only showed you, the green one. Maybe there's a sort of other maybe there's other colored suits in the mix here too. So maybe it's not just military, maybe there's other stuff going on. Anyways, I said it was going to be a short video, and I intend to keep it that way. We're a little over an hour, so welcome Oz, and good day, because I'm wrapping it up. It's been an absolute pleasure. As I said, it's a pretty slow news week, which I'm thankful for because I've been super busy with other stuff, as I've sort of now shared some of that stuff with you guys. But yeah, stay tuned for more on this and hopefully other channels, as far as space zombies from Mars goes. Um, you know what? I just realized I didn't even talk about the Cosmic Legion stuff. If you're into Cosmic Legions, I think this stuff's gonna fit in there just about perfectly too. So, um, yeah, it's time for me to wrap things up. Brick will be on at 3:45. If you're gonna jump on over there, you've got enough time to grab something to eat and sort of get settled in for that. Um, and thank you guys for joining me. As I sort of always say, it's much easier when I've got you guys to hang out with and chat with, and sort of keep things rolling. So thank you for joining me. I will be back next Sunday. Next Sunday is scheduled to be a monkey business, whether Brick and Jason realize that or not. That's what's happening next Sunday. So stay tuned for that. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about Mamba. Maybe there will be some updates that are Mamba related come next week. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for all of that. Um, Allison Troy, just in time. I came. I saw. I have to leave. Me too. So to echo Allison's sentiments, thank you guys. It's been a pleasure. I will see you all again next time. Bye bye.